Okay, I'm just gonna start drawing. Stand by, folks. Let me see if I can sync up with my buddy, Michael DiNicola. I think he's streaming right now, and it would be very difficult. I'm trying to see if this works. Hey, can you hear me? Tell me what your idea is. My stream can't hear you. Hold on. I'm gonna add Discord as a live channel.
You gotta wake up so early. I'm gonna try, and apparently they work well with people with ADHD. Oh, that makes sense. That does make sense. People with ADHD have different.
Can people in my chat hear me right now? Can people in my chat hear Michael DiNicola?
Something about coffee interacting weird with brains. Cap. Yeah, no. Well, I mean, listen. They give you guys Ritalin. Ritalin for anybody with ADHD sets you straight, right? Or whatever it is. It focuses you. But when you give it to somebody without that, it makes them crazy, right? Wilderness. I do modafinil. What's that?
We're gonna turn that volume way the fuck down for this crazy ass music.
What's modafinil?
Can you hear me okay, Mike?
Wait, what? Oh shit, fucking hang.
Hey, can you hear me? Yes, no? The dude left. The moment I put him on stream, he freaking left. Oh boy. Hey.
All right.
Can you hear me? Weirdo.
What the fuck? I can't hear Eric. I see Eric's thing is going off, but I can't hear him.
Why can't you hear me, Michael?
He was low. Wait. You could hear Eric, but I can't? What the fuck?
Okay. We're gonna have to try this another time, kids, because this shit ain't working. Right? Alright, I'm gonna try it another way. Mic just disappeared. Alright, we're gonna continue it on stream.
Yes, sir. Thank.
Whoa. Alright, before I get caught up with all the technicalities, can I say hi to everybody? Yeah? Raul Trevino, good evening. Good evening, Asir. Good evening, William. Atomic Bulldog Art, good evening. I'm actually supposed to do this. Look, every time. Pro Broadcast. Pro Streamer. Hello. Good evening. Donald, how are you? Pedrino, good evening. How are you? There's just 7 of us. Oh, wait, no, there's 8. Andretas, hello, good evening. Kakula, good evening. Joshua, hello. And there we go. Are we good? I'm gonna try this thing with Mike again because I like streaming with my pals. So you guys hang on. We didn't put this through the proper stress testing before I streamed, so this is gonna be stupid just for a little bit. Ready? Hey. Hey. He straight up disappeared on me.
Hey, can you?
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes. Fucking A. All
What
right.
happened?
What the hell was that, dude?
I don't know, dude.
Discord made it so I couldn't hear you at all. What the shit?
I don't know. Maybe it's this program that I'm using to pump you through digital mixer.
Don't know. We don't hear Eric, says John.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god.
It's a mess. This isn't gonna work, Mike. Okay, I'm gonna get back to drawing. Mike can do whatever the heck he wants.
Wait, I could hear you. Wait, say something again?
I'm saying I was about to get back to drawing for my stream, and I don't know what's happening on your end.
Oh, I could hear you. I could hear you now. Can you guys hear him now? I hear him. You probably need to reload Discord completely. I think they could hear you now. Yep. All right, they could hear you. And
All
I
right,
can hear
good,
you,
good.
and you can hear me, right?
That's all the part that matters. Yeah, and I'm just making sure that my chat can hear you as well. Can you guys hear my buddy Mike? My good friend Mike DiNicola? The Batman to my Robin. The volume is inconsistent, man, because sometimes I'll hear you and sometimes I won't. Are you talking?
Oh, well, can you? Yeah, I'm here. I'm talking right now.
All right. Just making sure.
Howdy.
All right, everybody in my chat can hear you. All good. Everything is working. If you guys can't hear the music in the background, it's because I cranked it way down because it was overpowering Mike's beautiful voice. Donald says, unfortunately, we hear his sultry voice. All right, let's get to drawing.
Your YouTube chat.
Did I already say hello to everybody? Strike Boy, hello. The comments channel, hello. How are you guys doing? What do I normally talk about in the beginning part of this program? I don't automatically draw, do I? What am I talking about? There was something on my mind while I was getting ready for this show. Oh, it was something that we had talked about a little while ago, which is the last time I streamed, which was, I feel like, was like 3 weeks ago. I'd mentioned in chat that there are times when you're producing a book, right? And you're really, really super hyped for it. And everybody's like in to help you out and support you. But when that book comes out, I'm talking about comic books, not mine. Keep up with me. And the book comes out and it's not very good. Why is it that nobody comes out and says, hey man, that book's not very good? And one of the answers in chat, at least 2 weeks ago, was, oh, because we're a tight-knit community and we never want to make anybody feel bad. Which got me down the road of thinking, like, okay, but this is the same sort of knee-jerk reflectiveness that has them judging, let's say, mainstream comics. It's easy to throw shade in that direction. But when it comes to somebody, and that's not even shade, it's more like criticism. You know what I mean? But when it comes to their own community or their own close circle of friends, they don't put them through the same rigor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right?
They don't scrutinize them the same way.
Right. And I don't know. I think that's two parts, right? And by the way, if at any point you have an opinion about it, I'd love to hear about it, right? I think that comes from the politeness of things, where you're like, we're friendly, and if it sucks, then, or if it's not as good as it can be, then I don't want to say anything to make them feel bad. Right?
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
If I may interrupt.
No, please.
As somebody who's gladly accepted critique from my peers
Yeah.
and those who I consider more elevated than my peerdom.
Yeah.
If I showed you a piece, or if you saw something,
Yeah.
and you saw something that was fixable, which you have in the past, and I've been grateful for your help.
For sure.
And you hold your tongue out of politeness, you might, I know you wouldn't do this, but hypothetically.
Yeah, conceptually, yeah.
If you hold your tongue, all you do is harm. Well, harm maybe isn't the right word, but it's way more helpful. It seems counterintuitive to be quote unquote mean. It seems counterintuitive to insult or criticize or change or offer unsolicited advice, which could be, but personally, I would much rather take the pride hit, and know where my work stands from a fellow creator.
For sure.
Than live in a fantasy bubble where it's like, oh, everybody likes it.
Right.
No notes.
Right.
No critiques.
Right, for sure.
I'm doing great.
Yeah. Here's what Donald says, right? We, quote, we're a tight-knit community, unquote, is why mainstream pros don't critique comics. You don't grow without criticism. Now, keep in mind, this isn't like a conversation of just like unsolicited criticism, but within your close-knit community, within your, most importantly, like your even tighter group of friends, right? You would hope that those are the kinds of people that you don't necessarily need to solicit feedback from, that they're freely to give it over to you because it comes from, pardon the term, I want to punch myself in the face for saying, but it comes from a safe space, right?
Yeah.
Like if you could trust anybody, these are the guys that you should be able to trust, you know?
Yes. Absolutely.
Right. And I think, to your point, it only, hopefully, if it's under the right, that very specific circumstance that we just mentioned, it just allows you to have more growth. And really, there are a lot of projects out there, mainstream or otherwise, that are getting by on the we don't say anything because we're nice. That kind of bugs me.
Well, it does, man. Because you're completely...
It's a weird double standard, you know? Maybe because mainstream is sort of like the big summer blockbuster movie that you're allowed to critique. But when you shoot a student film, you're like, ooh, it's a student film. You just pat him on the back and say, hey, good try, you know?
Well done. Good attempt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
A for effort, gold star.
I understand. Listen, I understand most people don't like conflict. Most people try to avoid conflict. And to be honest, if you're picking apart even a friend's work, there might be some hesitation there.
Yeah.
You might be like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't say anything, right? It's a polite thing to do. But I would stress that if you're a trusted peer, if you're somebody who's an editor or fellow, if you know what you're talking about, right? It's one thing if Joe Schmo off the street says, hey, that anatomy don't look right. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Learn how to draw, and then you can tell me about anatomy.
Yeah, for sure.
But if it's a friend, I would say please overcome that hesitation and help.
Yes. Yes, I remember, do you know the guy that's editing my book? This guy named Joe Fulton. Joe's a really nice dude. Really, really cool name. Yeah, really, really cool guy. Matches up with that cool name, right? And Joe caught something in issue 1 of Arcathena, right? And I don't know. I think a lot of things were getting lost in the text. You know, he texted me and he said, "Eric, I read this script. I think 3 times, going on his 4th, maybe 2 times, going on his 3rd, right? Something didn't sit right with me, and then he went back and read it the umpteenth time, and that's when he's like, this section right here, I'll write up something about it. And that's how I was reading it in his text. It wasn't that he wasn't willing to tell me. I think he was nervous about it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
I said, hey, I want to get, before I start anything on issue 5, if there's something in issue 4 that you're like, dude, I mean, he didn't really if it was critical, he would have said, hey man, this is super critical. But he didn't go in that route, right? He said it's fixable via dialogue, I'm like, great, that sets my mind at ease. But again, it was the tenor in by which we were talking. Not because I don't know Joe all that much. I was coming off more as like, I wonder, or maybe it was my own personal sort of, baggage that I was sort of injecting in that conversation. But I was like thinking, I wonder if Joe's not comfortable telling me that this needs to be changed, So I said, hey man, I know it doesn't seem like it's critical, or else I trust you that you would tell me. But we get on the phone, and he goes about telling me the spot that he felt was a little bit clumsy. Now, again, I might have been reading between the lines, but it didn't seem like, if you and I, it's weird because the difference is you and I have known each other for years, right? Joe and I have been working with each other maybe for 6-7 months or something like that, maybe less.
Sure.
So he's careful in how to communicate something, you know what I mean? Which I understand, I respect, I completely understand. I'm behind that. You do it with a level of
being tactful.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. He was being tactful about it. But then, I just straight up asked him, like, Joe, which part is messed up? And it's like, he goes, oh, you don't have to redraw anything. I'm like, dude, I do not mind redrawing something if it makes the narrative better. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
I'm into redrawing entire sets of pages to make sure. And here's the part that's critical, right? Joe is my editor.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I was about to say. He's your fucking editor. If
He's
there's
my
anybody
editor.
in the fucking world who should 100% be prioritizing not your feelings,
For sure.
but the work.
Yeah, exactly. That's
But
it.
I understand his tact, though.
Yes, like I said, I fully and 100% respect his tact, right? But I would hope that he and I get into enough of a professional space, which he'll never lose that tact because he's professional as hell. You know what I mean? He's never just going to be like, dude, you fucking bombed it on this section,
Yeah, this sucks.
Yeah, he's going to come from a place of like, hey, man, I think this is what I think this is what you're trying to do. I think this is where it's getting, we referred to it as the record skip, where you're like,
Yeah.
and it just like rips right off the record, and rips right off the track, and you're like, ooh, you lose the audience, and that's enough,
Yeah,
but I would just hope that I have surrounded myself with the kind of people that don't necessarily just automatically nod their heads and like, oh, this is fucking brilliant. And just be like, this is great, but here's the thing that you can be better at.
Absolutely.
Or here's the thing that you can tighten up a bit because it doesn't make much sense. And I wouldn't have, and if they didn't do their job well, it just means that I didn't vet them well, I wouldn't want to put somebody in a position in which they can inform on my body of work, not knowing that they're incapable, or knowing that they're incapable of it, right? That I just want them there to be like, pat me on the back, pat me on the head, and send me along my way. And like, dude, good job, good luck, I would hate that.
Dude, I can't speak for comics exactly, although I could think of a few like creators who do the whole, full. They're the whole team. Some creators fire on all cylinders.
For sure.
But I think it's a very rare. I think it's an admirable goal to like want to write and draw all, be the whole package. But I think some artists fall short of that, which isn't to say that they're less than, but listen, it's hard enough being a good artist.
Yeah.
Let alone all this other stuff.
Yeah. For sure.
Dude, the most prolific shortcomings that I've seen have way more to do with Hollywood.
Yeah.
The directors that decide that they can write all of a sudden
Yeah.
and produce and direct and act. Like I'm just gonna do it all.
Yeah.
But then they really can't. Patty Jenkins deciding to write the script for Wonder Woman 1984 comes to mind.
Oh, dude. Most recently, I don't know if you've seen Army of the Dead, where
perfect.
Zack Snyder is like
that's what
writing,
happens,
directing,
man.
producing, cinematographing, fucking,
Yeah, you see, we got into this mindset where it's like, fucking the damn studio. If only the studio wasn't so, limiting. If only if only there were left less chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah.
If only Zack Snyder's voice had just shined through. And then when you give him full reign, and he sucks, what then?
So, and here's the other thing, and I think you hit on it very, very briefly, but let me go back and underline it, okay?
please.
Making a comic on just the art end alone is, if you're anywhere near good at it, it must have taken you years, right? Because drawing a comic isn't just like getting anatomy right, getting composition right, getting, fucking props right, buildings right, all the reference right. It's also storytelling. It's all of these things rolled into one. Everything that I just said about Zack Snyder right now, that's the comic artist,
right? Yeah.
They're accountable for everything that ends up on the page. And that is I would think, years and years of getting good at something,
Yes.
And then you have to go in there and be a good writer too. If you're doing all the writing and drawing yourself, you're out of your fucking mind.
Which, by the way, it's a fucking really hard. Listen, there's a reason why there's so many failed writers. I mean, it is by no simple feat to do.
For sure.
And again, just like art, just like you spend, if we're doing the Malcolm Gladwell outliers of it all, the 10,000 hours, you can't just wake up one day and say, you know what, I've been writing comic books. I've been working on my comic book craft for, decades now, and I finally feel like I've got some mastery of it.
Yeah.
I feel like a writer.
Yeah.
Let's start writing.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Hold on, let me catch up to chat here really quick. Somebody's teasing Donald by saying pineapple is great on pizza. Hello, John Moore. How are you? There you are, Mike. Hello, Sweet Tooth. Hello. Charles is here. Hello. How are you, man? He's asking how's it going, Eric? I'm doing all right. I've already quoted Donald on this, quote unquote. We are a tight knit community. El Perdino says, I guess it's because they want the indie scene to succeed, so they're afraid of pointing out all the flaws in the books that they publish. Fuck, man, that's so frustrating. But you know what it reminds me of? Image 1.0. Image Comics 1.0 is like the rush of the newness of that thing prevented them from having their own quality control. Because it was such a liberating concept to not be under quote unquote yoke of like mainstream publishing and editors and all the hindrances that they undervalued, right?
Right.
And it makes
That's a good point.
And it makes me go like, oh, now that you've sort of been released into the wild on your own without unencumbered, that really either A, helps to highlight your point, which is like, we can do this on our own without you. We are really, really good. Or it turns the magnifying glass, the microscope onto you and go like, oh, there is a reason. There, like, it's obvious that this is not the thing that you do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And more often than not, it was that second part that I said. Is that what you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we just used some Hollywood examples.
Yeah.
But it's true, man. Sometimes the stuff that the stuff that feels cumbersome, or encumbering, is necessary. Now, again, too much of it, if you are getting way too many notes from studio executives who know nothing about the creative field, of course.
For sure.
But I looked up. This is going to sound like blasphemy to any Star Wars nerds out there, but if you're original trilogy dork, and your stance is the Empire Strikes Back is the best movie. Well, how much did George Lucas have to do with that?
Right.
Did he direct it? No.
Right.
Did he write it? No. Did he produce it? Well, he's the idea man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it says story by, but when it says who wrote the script, Lucas's name wasn't on that, or his name was a third in the list.
Right.
I don't even think he produced it. And then when you got full reign, we got the prequels, which we got the Phantom Menace, which listen, it's biased, but you understand my point.
I do.
Right?
I do.
Which is
there's actually this great scene in the supplementary disc. I don't know if you've ever seen it. This is the level of Star Wars nerd that I am, but going into Episode 1, Phantom Menace, there's a making of, like a documentary at the second disc.
No, I never saw it.
There is.
No.
And there is this one scene in which George Lucas and I think Steven Spielberg are talking to each other. So basically two like behemoths at their position, right? And I can't remember what brought it on, but they were talking about a certain plot, And there was this back and forth with them that's like, oh yeah, that scene, that's going to be great. And then George Lucas goes, oh yeah, it's going to be great. And Steven Spielberg goes, that's going to be great. They say it 6 times back and forth. That's going to be great. That's going to be great. Oh, that's going to be great. And I thought, like, of all the fucking people that you could turn to, you know?
Maybe it was to our point, man. Maybe Spielberg just too close to
That's what I mean.
because they go way back.
That's what I'm talking about. Is like, you gotta,
And
you have to put yourself through the rigor of people whom you trust. That'll say, like, keep in mind, he didn't see the entire movie. They were walking through the prop set, you know, and they were seeing those super skinny droid from episode 1. So he only got the contact high from it, you know. But if you're reading it, in as much as I'm going to distribute like the black and white version, but lettered of what do you call it, of Arcathena 1 to my close circle of friends, right? And be like, read this and tell me, right? You need that time, you know. It's never done in it's never done in draft 1, right?
No.
And in movie terms, it's like a movie is made 3 times, right? One in the writing, one in the shooting, and one in the editorial, right? So similar to comics, I believe there's opportunities in which if you get ahead of it, right? If you set up the schedule so it's advantageous to like the good kind of edits, then it only ends up working in your favor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, stronger and stronger, man. You know?
Yeah.
Dude, most people
knowing when to stop naturally, right?
Decades.
Knowing when to be like,
sure.
Okay, this is way too much. We got to release this thing, but you build it into your schedule. You have opportunity to change stuff. Joshua says J.R.R. Tolkien threw out C.S. Lewis' first draft of The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. To be honest, that probably led Lewis to write a better book. Right on. Donald says there's zero criticism of books in Comicsgate unless you directly ask, and few do. I wonder where that comes from. It's been one of my pet peeves, is Donald still, because I need to know what people think in order to improve my work and my product. Now, I hope that you have a system in place, a certain, like I said, a sort of a brain trust that you go to, Donald, so that they can give you the skinny on what you are, where you can improve, right? So here's the other thing. Not only do you want to surround yourself with people who can give you criticism, but I believe that you have to surround yourself with people who have an intimate knowledge of what it is that you're trying to get criticism for, right?
Right.
Sure, you can get criticism from a
great
close,
point.
you know, you can get criticism from a close set of friends who kind of draw comics right along with you, but you take a look at their pedigree, you're like, that's the guy, and this is just some random thing. Like, oh, that's the guy that drew Dark Knight. I'm going to listen to that guy, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course.
DV Vincent, how are you? Your art is amazing, he says. That's very kind. Thank you for being here. How's it going, William? What's good, Eric? Good evening. Good evening to you. Kanice? I know I asked your name before, but hello. How are you?
Hello,
William
everybody.
says, Donald DeLay, I can't stand that about CG. I'm starting to speak out more about what sucks. I'm not a creator, so why wouldn't I be? Right? Your character skipped leg day, I borrow ideas, says to Donald DeLay. John says hello again because he needs the attention. There's John. Donald DeLay says, as a customer, your criticism is important. I believe in that as well.
Yeah, of course.
William C says, I've spent enough I'm going to say, I think he means money. I spent enough money on crowdfunding that I think that I've earned the right to critique some stuff. I don't know if you need to earn it.
Dude,
you can critique.
Yeah. No, dude, you're a customer.
Yeah.
Listen. If somebody in the community is like, hey, I've supported your, this and that, I've been an avid reader, I think, I have an issue with this. Yeah, man. That's just good business. That's just good customer service. Also, from my chat, thank you, Jeff Raff, for the 28 months resub. I appreciate you, Jeff.
Donald says, buddy. Can I get a wrench so I can abuse my power and block that pineapple pizza loving comment? Okay. I borrow ideas says, I agree. I think people don't want to rock the boat. Yep, I agree with that. There's an phase where everyone supports everything as a protest against the establishment, but we are now in the stand of real quality, part of the evolution. Yeah, and I think, and this is not to pick on anybody, on any particular tribe, but I think if you were to stand there and say, I'm a professional, I'm putting out a professional product, fucking prove it. Yeah. put
Put your
yourself through
fucking money
the
where your mouth is.
exactly put yourself through the professional rigor that you need to go through in order to be considered professional. Not just because, and here's the conflicting part, Mike, and I'll speak on the other side of this argument, right? Is it enough?
Yeah.
Is there credit to be given because a guy actually made a book? Because there's plenty of sons of bitches out there that talk a good game but don't make shit. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
dude, it's easy, dude. It's easy to fuck. What do they call that? Couch quarterbacking.
Yeah.
You know, like
Right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, you can be. I mean, I'm incredibly harsh, and I'm almost really super, you know, like overly critical in my opinion. But isn't there something to be said that even though that product is imperfect, right? That the fact that it's out should receive some level of I don't know, encouragement. What's the word I'm looking for here? Like a level of, hey, good job, you know?
Right. Yes. Yes. I think so. Armchair quarterback. Thank you, Two Oak.
Yep. I have two people I usually ask. That's awesome. Hey, IBI, how are you? Richard Pace, good evening. How are you?
Hey, Richard Pace.
So yeah, I don't know. I think if you were going to stand in front of something and say this product is a professional product, I don't care what side of the fence you stand on. It better, or at least it's actually it's worse. It's worse. Not necessarily your product is. You're claiming that your product's professional. What's even worse is you point a finger outward and go, that product is unprofessional, and I'm going to do something that's better than that. Oh boy, did you open up the
That's
fucking...
a tall order.
Yeah, did you? Because, you know, subjective sliders where they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd better be able to deliver on that promise. I don't know why.
Sure.
I don't know why when it is so easy for people to criticize on the other side of the road, from the other side of the road, and not hold themselves and their peers accountable to that same criticism.
Right. Yeah, no, dude. If you're somebody who's railing against, who knows? It could be the comic book industry. It could be whatever, man. Maybe it's a fucking restaurant that you think food sucks, and then you decide I'm gonna make my own restaurant, and then your food is worse. Well, then what the fuck point did you prove?
For sure.
You know?
For sure. Charles says the best advice I ever got was from Mike Oming and Mike Awthorne, and they said almost the same thing. They draw for themselves and what they like. That's interesting. That's interesting. Kakua says, could it be that maybe a majority of the audience does not consume the product at if I could put it, critical intellectual level? That's a good point too, isn't it? Are you and I too close to the product, Mike? Are you and I taking a look at it and going like, this fucking McDonald's hamburger is not...
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, are we sitting here going like, man, you know how much, you know how much this McDonald's hamburger sucks right now? It's got ketchup that has sugar in it, it has mustard that has sugar in it, has pickles that has sugar in it, and McDonald's goes, look at the sign, dude. It's sold 100 million fucking burgers, you know?
Right. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because maybe we read something and we're going to be, because it's an industry that you work and that I'm adjacent to, critical. We're going to be critical of it. We're going to look at it with a much harsher eye.
Yeah. I think it's two-tiered. I think it's exactly what we just talked about right now. But also, if there are going to be people who stand up on a soapbox and with the biggest bullhorn they can say, this is as good as everything else that's out there. And people have come to identify that it's not as good. I don't understand why there is no accountability going in that direction when it's just as easily whipped out in the opposite direction towards, let's say, the mainstream or the smaller market. You know what I mean? I don't understand it. And it's primarily because, nobody wants, the excuse or the reasoning that I got previously. And I think there's valid. I'm not going to say that it's not, because obviously if these are your friends, you don't want to do anything too harsh. If it's your community, you don't want to do anything that makes you seem like you're the one, telling people that the emperor has no clothes, so to speak, right?
Right.
But where is the opportunity for growth there, Where can you finally realize, like, oh, wait a second, all that talking I did definitely does not live up to the thing that God delivered.
Sure. I mean, could you imagine you're watching a sporting event and you're screaming from the bleachers of how much you could be better at doing it, and then you get up there, you get onto the field, the court, whatever,
Right.
and then you fumble, you miss the shot, you can't do, like, you look like guess what? You look like a fucking fool. Like, it's fucking embarrassing. Let's not forget that either. If I were to release a product of some sort, artistically, an art project, not even necessarily a comic, whatever it might be, maybe it's a sketchbook, and I run it past my friends, and my friends are like, hey, there's some pieces in here that they're not great. You need that, right?
Yeah. I would hope.
I would hope.
One could hope. Let's see, what else we got? Charles says, because not everyone will love your project or art or whatever, right? Pace says, no project is for everyone, so it's bizarre how some people get angry when something isn't made to their taste. That's a nuanced conversation. I'm listening to Aptly Ideas about making art music, guitar for almost 50 years, also visual arts, paint, and pen illustration. D. Vincent W. says, you want some McDonald's? No, not this time of night, man. You're just going to wreck yourself. Jasper Plan 9, hello, good evening. There are two types of crowdfunded in my mind. Those that present themselves as pro or pro substitutes, and real indie project that would never try to act like a Jimenez Batman. Okay, yeah, I think those are fair categories to establish, right? One's books that are just getting made because they are, passion projects, right? And as far as the actual product, whether it be art or writing or both, not necessarily to the standard that is mainstream, right? But then there are some that do,
right,
who tout themselves as that,
mm-hmm.
And you're like,
yeah, dude,
no, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not, bro. You're.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. If you're in the bleachers of a fucking NBA game and like you're looking at like a 4th tier team, you're like, I could do that better than one of them.
Yeah.
And then you get on the court, you fucking can't come close. You look like a fucking buffoon.
There's somebody in my chat that just said his thumb on the back hand is too big or positioned funny and talking about my drawing. Thank you.
Eric, I'm looking at your chat, but I'm not looking at your art right now.
What are you looking at?
Oh, here I see it. Oh, the back thumb?
Back thumb, too big for this guy. Listen, I'm not going to deny him his opinion. He's got it.
Let's see. Let's let democracy reign. How many of you in the chat think that hand is too big, and how many of you think it's just right? Or how about yet third option? How many of you think, like me, it's what I like to call fucking good enough?
That's 75% of my art, man. 80% of my art.
Yeah. That's because, listen, you could nitpick and like, that hand's too big, that foot's too big, that thing's turning weird. Fucking that bone, that fucking knee joint doesn't look right. But at the end of the day, does that hand being a little bit too big, if it is, does it fuck with anything? Does it?
But but to me, it still does not diminish that guy.
No.
That guy's insight. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like, oh, okay. It lands right. He could absolutely be right.
He could be 100%. I'm not saying he's necessarily wrong.
Right.
I'm just saying, if he even, let's give him a bout. Let's say, Eric, that hand is way too fucking big, small, whatever.
Yeah.
Is that important?
To this gentleman it is. It's enough that it's astounding enough that they go like, yo, that one is too big in the back. And I'm all like, you're right.
Let's see. The mechanics of being an artist are edged in the body of work you have so far. If you're constantly creating, how do you step back and see your work objectively? You can't. There's no way an artist. I mean,
How do you
maybe
step
there is
back
an
and
artist out there who could.
what's the question? Say it again.
If you're constantly creating, how do you step back and see your work objectively? I don't think you can. I don't think that's
Ooh,
possible.
how do you do it? Is there a way to do it? You can't do it.
I mean, no, not a you. You with all you who made the art, especially, take a step back and look at it through eyes that aren't yours. I don't think that's. I don't think that you. Maybe if you've got, you know what? I figured out. If you've got a multiple personality disorder,
What does it mean to look at your own body of art objective? Like, what's the level of objectivity that you're looking for? Right, because I can take a look at something that I've drawn and use the objectivity lens of whether or not the anatomy is correct, and I'll be like, no, that's fucked up. Right? That's objective.
yeah, sure.
Right?
That yes. But even then though, if you do stylized anatomy, that might, like
Yeah.
for example, somebody who studies the masters, the anatomy masters, those who know exactly precisely where every single muscle sinew is to the, to bones, back, fucking arteries, they got the whole shebang, right?
Right.
That type of perfection, you might look at your art and say this anatomy works.
Yeah.
But even then, your own biased views of what anatomy works isn't going to be completely objective, because
Yeah.
even that is different.
Well, let me catch up with chat real quick.
Yeah, please.
Oh, you've read off that. What do you call it? You've read off that comment. Page said, look at the character's face. Clear answer. His thumb must be exactly like that. Random McBranderson says it stands out because it looks wrong. You're absolutely right. It is wrong. That thumb is my favorite part of the drawing. Thanks, William. I thought it was robot. Could be. I've appeared from the bowels of this platform to say hello from the other side of the world. Hey, Frankie, how are you? This is a good conversation. Jasper Plant 9 says, closest I get to seeing my art objectively is after I post it somewhere and then see the mistakes. And not even all of them, and even that's limited. See, but that's like, I don't know how that, those are all great points, Don, but I don't know if it's that subjective, right? You seeing your own mistake doesn't necessarily make it true. And that's the reason why you kind of need, and the reason why I say an anatomy book is because when you take a look at it, and we're going to go back to that point that you made just now, Mike. If you take a look at an anatomy book, right? It's going, that is the objective point of reference that you'll use to say this is wrong, right? If you draw an engine, and it's supposed to be the engine of a 1975 Ford Mustang, and it's off because you didn't draw a gasket in the right space, then that's objectively off and wrong, right?
Yes.
But I
100%.
think beyond that level of objectivity, where there's a pre-existing thing and you're trying to draw it or make it exactly like that, I don't know if there's an immediate or a usable objectiveness to be like, I'm going to step back from my art and see that it's wrong. The only way that I can think of it, right? So here, and this goes back to the guy that was criticizing the thumb, right? So if I have historically drawn that thumb in that stylistic manner for 15 years, right? And then in the same panel, I draw the same exact pose, and I draw the same exact fist, and I draw the same exact everything, and that thumb is off, then I can say objectively within the style and the quote-unquote truth that you told me about your style, that thing is off.
Yes.
Wrong might not necessarily be the right word, but that's off.
Inconsistent.
Because what you've been telling me for 6 or 7 panels now is that you draw X a certain way, right? But you stepped away from X, and now I can objectively say, see that's inconsistent with your work, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I think it's possible if you compare your vision with what you produce. Maybe. Yeah, for sure. Wait. What do you mean by that? It's possible if you compare, like, whatever it is that was in your intent versus what the final product looks like? Is that what you're saying? What's up, man? How are you, Red Labs? Good evening. Thank you for being here. Frankie Lynch says, I'm all right, dude. Thought I would come into yours and Michael's stream for a bit before bed. Right on.
Thank you for being here.
there is something to be said also, and we're talking about that level of objectivity. And I think there's a reason why stylizations, like let's use J. Scott Campbell as an example, right? The reason why people are uncomfortable with, especially when you are at a certain level in your artistic artistic journey, right? When you're getting better at your craft, stylization fucks you up, man. Right? It makes you really uncomfortable because what you have as a point of reference is reality, and when stylization challenges reality, right? It's hard for you to negotiate that in your own mind. And that's why something will come off completely wrong, because you don't see it contextually within the world that the artist has established, you know? You see it in context to how you've come to understand that thing, right? So whenever somebody calls out J. Scott Campbell and says like, oh, stylistically, his women don't look real. Stylistically, where are the organs, right? That comment is asinine. But if you take a look at the world and the stylistic space that J. Scott Campbell has established for himself, anytime that he draws comics, it's pretty in line. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. To a T.
Right. So similar to like, would you call out Snoopy for not looking like a fucking beagle? Right? But in that world,
where's Charlie Brown's organs?
Yeah, exactly. Well, how come he's like scrunched down to a little tiny man? I think that's the reason why when people call out something and they're like, that stylization makes me feel really fucking uncomfortable. It's too push, it's too stretch, it's too whatever, it's too like, it's wrong, quote unquote. I have a tendency to go like, I just push back on that. Now, sometimes they leverage that conversation into like the sexualization and, you know, fetishization of X, Y, and Z. I don't give a shit about that, right?
It's the male gaze.
Right. I can't fucking stand that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know who authorized these dum-dums to be sort of the fucking standard bearers of what's like who's supposed to look like how and what, you know? Ridiculous. There's 500 things out there that you can put your eyes on that's closer to your, you know, idealized version of the world. Why are you going to come over here, right? Everything must be aligned to your vision of the world. Everything must be aligned to the way you should see things. It's so dumb.
Yes. Well, you got to remember that famous Anita Sarkeesian line.
Which one? Which line?
Let me see if I could find it. You know what? I think I have it in sound effect. Let me know if this plays through.
Everything is sexist. Everything is racist. Everything is homophobic.
She's not wrong. Everything is sexist. Everything is racist. Everything is homophobic.
Oh God,
this fucking Apple Pencil is so racist, homophobic, and sexist. I love it.
It's so phallic, Eric.
Oh, I know.
Why doesn't that pencil look more like a vagina,
right,
Eric?
Right. Why am I not holding a like a vaginal opening in my hand to draw this drawing? Will you tell us another Danzig story at the end of the stream? Let me think of more Danzig stories. Did I tell you the one time that he took me to a New Year's party and threw a bunch of $50 bills on me, and strippers came out of the woodwork like the aliens from the movie Aliens? Did I say that? Did I tell you that story before, Mike?
You know what? I don't recall. But I'm here. I'm ready.
Random says Rob Liefeld is a god. I wouldn't say he's godlike, but he's sure as hell freaking successful at his job.
Yeah, no. Yeah, okay, blah blah blah. You could do the low hanging fruit of shitting on Rob Liefeld and that.
Listen, I am not guilt free in that space. I'll tell you that. I am not guilt-free in pointing at Rob Liefeld in my artistic journey and going like, what the fuck? How is that guy still getting a job? Sure. Fast forward to now, I'm like, keep going, Rob Liefeld. You fucking get him. Yeah. Keep proving to these little guys, like, all that talk, all that fucking chatter, and you're still working. So who's winning now?
Right. Yeah. Who's a multimillionaire and who's...
it's like, well, but he still sucks at his art. And I'm like, okay.
Okay. Yeah. All
right. I guess that's the metric.
You know, I'm sure he's crying over it to his accountant.
Right. I'm seeing Liefeld's Captain America and saying, well, it's just his style, and laughing. Hey, like I said, it's here's the key integer in what you just said right now, random. You are looking at Captain America that Rob Liefeld drew. You're doing it.
Yes.
You actively took time out of your day and looked at his art. He still wins.
That's true. Yeah, you're in Eric's chat talking about Rob Liefeld, and Rob Liefeld doesn't know who the fuck
Rob
you are.
Liefeld is eating a sandwich on a bench for free in your mind.
Yeah, Rob Liefeld is an old man feeding the fucking ducks at the park in your head right now.
For
He's feeding
free.
old bread.
I've been studying in anatomic drawings for months and months, so I have a hard time maybe not noticing it. Yep, I completely agree with that. I 100% agree with that. If you do a process book for Archathena, we provide the script in its text-only format in the process supplemental book. Holy crap, Jasper Plan, that's a bad idea. I want to show you how I write Archathena scripts. Here, you guys see that? That's script for Archathena. It's literally bullet points. Here, large man stands on deck of SDF-2 and starts bashing cannons. Is that something that you want? I don't know if that's something that you want to read. However, if you say, yo, that's interesting to me, I'll consider like taking a photograph of it and putting inside that supplemental disc. Or supplemental material. Dan Fan says, style is sexist, quote unquote, the art police. This is true. This is true. Have you ever watched Dan Fan's channel before, Mike?
No.
The lady is freaking hilarious. I love it when she goes off on like the booby police, you know? I love that shit. I'm there all day.
So damn puritanical.
I know it.
So
Then wouldn't that be
Quaker?
where the saying
Amish?
goes, art is subjective? Yeah, I would think so. Everybody has their taste. I don't, what do you call it? Somebody like, if you don't like a particular body of work, you are at liberty to not pay it any mind. It's when you step into the space and say that piece of art should not exist because I think it shouldn't exist.
Yeah, definitely go fuck yourself.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, an artist or basically anyone who creates has a vision which they seek to achieve. Thus, the vision is the most objective point of reference. So you're saying that in the case of a piece of art that you've envisioned in your mind and how it turns out on the okay, I think that's fair, right? What do you think of that, Mike? I meant to paint the sky a very particular way with these kinds of clouds. I now see the product of that attempt, and it's not exactly what I had in my mind. That's pretty objective, no?
Yeah.
Right? It didn't turn out to be the right rendering of a cloud, the right rendering of a tree, right?
Right.
Even Pride Month is homophobic. I'm still Tuvexing. Who's tonight's guest? This is my good buddy, Michael DiNicola.
It's me.
Who is a significantly better streamer than I am. And if you already don't follow him on either Twitch or YouTube, you should do so. You can find him under Michael DiNicola. Is there anybody on my end that's a wrench? Nobody?
I'm here. I'm a wrench.
Promote yourself, Mike. Sweet Tooth says, "Yeah, why can't I draw with a vagina? You can draw with a vagina. You can. Nothing is stopping you. It's the United States of America. Why aren't building giant pits in the ground? How can you even draw a comic with a vagina pen? That doesn't work. Not with that attitude, Dave Trent. Sounds like a great story. Hate Heroes Reborn. I like Snake Eyes. Really? What's the key difference for you? Rob Liefeld is Rob Liefeld, right? Or no? I'm not shitting on Liefeld. I'm just pointing out an obvious example where Captain America is obviously drawn wrong. You can't say it's just style, but there's still some requirement to represent something. Damn, he made some pretty good points. Which part? We would have to come to an agreement on what's being drawn wrong. Are we saying anatomically? Is he inconsistent throughout his book and as far as the world that he's built? Did he draw like 3 guys looking absolutely perfect, but Captain America is completely fucked up? I think that's the metric that I use.
Yeah, I think when it comes to stylization, that you kind of don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because just saying the anatomy is wrong, then What do you mean?
Yeah.
Referring to who?
Yeah. Well, see, no, I think maybe I'm oversimplifying, right? Walk with
Sure.
me through this, Mike. Like, if in
Let's
that
go.
book, anatomy is wrong for everybody, right? The moment he draws somebody on right anatomy, then that guy who he drew correctly is wrong, right?
Yeah, yeah. That, you know why? Especially because that would be jarring.
Yes.
If everybody is built a certain way,
Right.
and then you turn the page and somebody is an exact one-to-one perfect human anatomical reference, that would be like somebody throwing a wrench in your bicycle spokes. What the hell is this?
Frankie Lynch says,
You know?
shouldn't it just be the case if someone wants to change everyone else's thoughts process with, let's say, art, instead of doing that, they just go away and sit there in a corner and work on their own thing conceptually? But people have a lot of free time, Frankie. Knock it off. Stop talking sense. This isn't that kind of chat. Bench Dan Panosian do probably. Dude, can I tell you? They announced it, right? They announced that Rob's last issue of Snake Eyes were that he drew and a bunch of different people inked, right? And it just happened to be that I inked one page, and he reached out to me, I think, near the end, where he's like, Eric, I'm sorry, I completely forgot. Would you mind inking one page of Snake Eyes? I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. But on the side, he sent me what Dan Panosian's inks on top of his pencils look like. Dan Panosian is godlike. I don't care what you say. Dan Panosian can draw anything. Make fun of Rob Liefeld all you want, Dave Tran says. He has earned his place in comics with all the things he's accomplished, yeah. Yeah, that's a weird pivot, right? Because I don't think that's what Random is talking about. I think Random is talking more about like looking at Rob Liefeld's style and saying, definitely not for me. There's things in there that definitely could use a ton of improvement, especially how I've come to understand or I'm studying anatomy, right? And he's not wrong. I don't think there's any, because he's using that anatomical study that he's into right now as a metric for how Rob Liefeld draws. And under that specific circumstance, I'm in Random's corner, right? And that's what I got used to. That's what I used to get hung up with too, is that I would look at Rob and be like, what the fuck, that leg is wrong, that chest muscle is wrong, that, that whatever, that arm is wrong. And then I see him draw it consistently throughout the book, and I'm all like, oh, that's how Rob Liefeld draws. But he did bring up Captain America earlier. Do you remember that really infamous side pose?
Of course, dude.
Right?
It's legendary at this point.
Right. Like it's meme-ish as good as it is,
Yeah.
That's when I was able to go like, oh, even within Rob Liefeld's style, that's wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's wild. Yes.
Like he was way
he
he was way off to the left and right as far as what he's established for himself. Most thing I draw or paint change, so I go through the process though, so that initial idea is just an idea. I get it. Put his Captain America cover on screen and tell me it's drawn right. That one where he's standing, almost profile, looking off to the side. No, within Rob Liefeld's own style, that one was off. I can agree. Captain America is built like a atomic tank engine. Now, how about Kirby? His anatomy was off, but he was trailblazer and is still talked about to this day. Now, was it due to his style or was it due to his work ethic? The fuck? I don't know if those are two of the same things, right? I think Jack Kirby saw drawing comics as a business and that he needed to draw as much of it as he could in order to make a living out of it.
Good point.
He facilitated a style that would still be creative, unique to him, but certainly would facilitate turning around a book very, very quickly. What felt most comfortable to him. I don't know if they had much time back then to work on per page, Were they cranking out 32 pages a month? And they were drawn huge, right? Do you remember those pages, Mike? You've seen it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Fucking massive.
You see them when you go to conventions.
Yeah.
If somebody's got a hold of them back in the day.
Yeah.
No, they're giant.
Right. So think about the kind of real estate that he has to cover in order to do, let's say, even 20 pages of that per month. Right? Like how much drawing actually goes into that process. And I don't know if you know anything about why they had to draw them that big back in the day.
I'm assuming it's a technical thing.
Yep, is because they had to shoot the inks using a camera.
Jesus.
And so they didn't have the fine scanning technology that we have today, that we can draw pretty much on a freaking, index card, and it would still reproduce kind of nicely.
Yeah.
They needed to shoot it on a traditional camera, and then that is the process in by which they would then overlay that film on top of the board that they would color on, would paint under. So they kind of use it like acetate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Shit.
Rob traced that cap cover pose off of another artist. Which one? The side pose?
Really? Is that true?
I don't know. I would love that chicken scratch in a process book. That's what process book is. For and its aspiring writers, I can't draw. Oh, I see. Listen to me, neither can I, but they're letting me draw anyway. Hey-o. Why would you book that one to trace? I'm not in his head. But that guy must be doing something right, man. Liefeld Dead Heroes Are Born like 25 years ago. Snake Eyes is recent, Liefeld, right? Oh, I can't wait for that book to come out. The kind of people that he has lined up. Who else did I see? And I think they announced it, right? So I'm not blowing anything up. It's not super secret. So I told you guys about how much I love Damp and Ocean stuff. The other one that he sent me, Mike, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it, is he had Billy Tan do an ink of his of one of the pages. Fuck, man, these guys are all good. Billy Tan rocks inking Rob Liefeld's pages.
Were they inking? Did they go traditional? I'm assuming Panosian went traditional.
I don't know if he did. I think Dan's got his brush, digital brushes at this point.
Right.
I think Kirby's style, whether streamlined for time constraints, is still amazing. Its energy and emotion, not a crazy take, I know. That's William C. who said that. Oh, Kirby was a machine, but the thing is okay. I think something he was doing was cocaine. Oh, you're talking about Rob? Maybe. Kirby's anatomy was stylized and it works just like Liefeld. Yeah, that's the reason why it's like, that's a very good point, Charles. When you take a look at Kirby's work, you go like, oh, that's anatomy is way off. Stomach muscle, abdomen muscles don't really look like that. Like biceps don't really look like that. But if it works, it works. I don't know when we became such massive sticklers for this must be the only way comics are drawn. Right? What I think, so a counter argument could be made. Well, then, Eric, how come you don't like modern, the way comics are drawn now in modern superhero comics, right? Because, and I'm very clear about this. I think the artists of the generations that we just mentioned between Kirby and Liefeld and the generations that they represent understood the IP. Does that make sense? They understood what they were drawing for, which is a massive power fantasy, right? Which is like superheroes larger than life, guys who are going to either go out and do the right thing or the bad guys that are out there doing the awful things that these good guys need to do. They understand the spirit and by which these comic books are being made, so they made them actively larger than life. What some of these modern comic book artists are doing are turning the superheroes into regular people. And I don't like it.
But not even in a... So, like, a good example of somebody being a regular person is the Peter Parker dynamic, right? So Peter Parker, he's Spider-Man, but Spider-Man isn't something that he gets to do. It's something that he has to do.
Okay.
It's the responsibility of it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, the compelling part is how Peter Parker, despite the amazing abilities that he has, the burden of Spider-Man, especially you see it in Spider-Man 2, every aspect of Peter Parker's life suffers because of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it's like him being a regular dude, it does come into play, but he's not a regular dude. So He's a regular dude, and not even because he's Spider-Man. What makes Peter Parker is that he's constantly willing to make that sacrifice.
Yeah.
Financially,
Yeah.
through his various relationships. Like that's the larger than life. No, he's not necessarily Superman, or he's not Batman. He's not a grandiose godlike being. He's a regular dude, but he's rare.
Yeah,
right?
you're talking
Kind of the
more.
way that
You're looking at it
Yeah.
more from a narrative perspective, right, Mike? Which I totally appreciate. I
Yeah.
totally get where you're coming from. I'm coming from it from a more visual space, right? Same Spider-Man that you're talking about right now. Yeah. Anytime that somebody draws him as Peter Parker, he's always wearing like the historically he's worn like that stupid, whatever sweater vest and like the bow tie, right,
Sweater
with the
vest,
round glasses,
button-up shirt,
right?
yeah.
And then later
Khakis.
on, you get to see a more more contemporary version of him. But each time that the artist drew him in his Spider-Man outfit, there was something heroic about him. Right? They all had their different takes, right? Like McFarlane drew differently than John Romita Jr., who drew differently than who is it? Steve Ditko, and then who's the guy who had Mark Bagley, right? But when he puts on that outfit, he's not a regular dude. He talks like a regular dude. You have context on him because you had like 6 pages where he's, trying to brush his teeth and he can't find the toothpaste or whatever the hell, right? But the moment he puts it on, he's a freaking superhero. What I don't like in modern comics these days is they make them into people, thinking that gives them cachet as relatable. I don't want relatable Batman.
No, that's right. No, Peter Parker is relatable to a point. Steve Rogers is relatable before he gets the serum. Steve Rogers is relatable to a point, but then you realize, oh, he's a superhero, not necessarily because of the powers and all that, because he's willing to. We see it when he's like 90 pounds soaking wet and like 5'2". You see him being the only guy in the crowd to jump on a live grenade to save the people around him.
He's relatable because, at least to me anyway, this is my take on him. He's relatable because he's the aspirational person that you'd want to be representing you and the best version of what it means to be a citizen of the country, right? He's relatable in that way. He doesn't have to be the guy that looks the same as you. He doesn't look like his characteristics, and his character is the part that makes you go like, fuck, man, if I can be anybody,
Bingo.
if I can try to be something better than myself. And heroism isn't simply just like lifting a car over your head. It's representing something when things should say, that's probably an old way of looking at that, and maybe you should graduate into a more blah, blah, blah way of thinking. It's not just the physical, right? And that's what he represents. And that's why he's aspirational, and that's why he's heroic, right?
Exactly.
The moment you turn him into a dude in a suit, the moment you put him into, make him into a dude who looks like he's doing cosplay, I'm like, what are you doing? That's not fun,
Right. Yeah, it's true. It's not fun to look at or read.
Like 32 pages of a guy in cosplay. What the hell? Let me catch up with chat real quick.
Yeah, of course.
I drew my first 2 issues. This is Atomic Bulldog says, I drew my first issue of my comic at 1:1 scale thinking I'd save time lies. I'm not sure working bigger is necessarily more time consuming in the pencil stage. Everybody works I've seen pencils that are so super loose, but the artist is so comfortable with their inking style, if they ever decide to take it to inks, that they can go through it much faster than doing tight pencils so that they can accommodate an inker in that traditional pre-production pipeline, So it's different for anybody.
Right.
Kenny says, the coloring just makes the drawing seem out of place, like cutouts or unorganic in Heroes Reborn. Are you talking about the original one or most recent one? Did they release the most recent Heroes Reborn yet?
No idea.
Fraga did a page, and so did Ed Piskor for Snake Eyes. Yeah, I saw Ed's. It looks great. It's like, what I love is each artist is on brand for what they did over his pencils, which was my freak out moment. I remember there was this one inking book that came out. I think our Dark Horse published it. It was Steve Reed doing the pencils, and a bunch of professional inkers took their pass, on the same page. And they would sit there on the opposing page. They would have the page sitting in front of them, the thing that was inked, right? The original pencils was at the beginning part of the book. And then the art of the inker would be reproduced, and on the facing page of the inks would be the artist's, the inker's comments. Isn't that fascinating? So everybody in the industry inked Steve Rude's pencils and inked them in very different ways, and it would talk about the process of inking it. And I remember that when I was inking Rob's page, where I was like, oh, I really hope that he doesn't mind me doing this page in this way and not being 100% true to his pencils. But after he sent me Panosian's and Kevin Eastman's page, I was like, no, they're having fun, so I'm gonna fucking have fun, you know?
Yeah, no, hell yeah. It's like a collab.
Yeah, absolutely. Richard Pace says, man, I miss listening to you guys. Got to crash. Good night. Good night, Rich. They were over the top, and that's what stood out. I think the funny part is when they're writing now is the writer's power fantasy. It's not just the reader's power fantasy. That's a valid point. What do you think of that, Mike? Random says, I think the funny part is what they're writing now is the writer's power fantasy. It's not the reader's power fantasy.
Is
that new?
I'd hate to quote Kelly Sue DeConnick, but she's the one that classically said, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my books.
What a silly statement.
And then people didn't. And then people said, okay, great. Deal.
Thank you very much.
Sounds good to me.
We're going to go this way now.
But essentially, if that isn't the modern day writer's mentality.
Yeah.
Even when it's not their fucking character.
Yeah.
It's not their IP.
Yeah.
But that's the mentality they bring to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Jasper says...
I think random... Yeah.
And Jasper says, Ethan always says when working on a corporate IP, you're a steward who must hand it off in as good or better shape than when you got it. I believe in that.
Of course.
Dude,
of course.
I fucking believe in that 100%.
Yeah.
And I don't care in what capacity, right? That's just not art. We're talking about in the writing too, Like... It's so difficult I tried to read through 3 issues of Batman recently. Jeez, man. I don't know what's going on over there. I think Marvel heroes were often regular dudes, while DC were idolized demigods. But today, writers have heroic and replaced it with mundane, and the artists don't get paid enough to spend time. DC were idolized demigods, in concept, I guess, right? But like... X-Men still look like heroes, Avengers still look like heroes.
Sure.
Right? They were still aspirational in their design and the approach and how you write them as characters. There must be a generational, as far as the new writers that are, that are infusing these characters with their body of work. And it's enough for me to go like, not for me, and then move on. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to
You're not the only one.
Yeah. Obviously, right?
Obviously, dude. The industry and the shape that it's in.
Fucking obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's something to be said about like understanding the IP, having respect for what's come before, and building on it, right? Or building upon it. You know what I mean? Like understanding the shoulders of giants that you're standing on, and going like, I'm going to make this fucking better. Because I understand the spirit and by which they wrote it,
You know what it is? It's the Mandalorian versus the sequel trilogy.
Sure.
Sure. It's the Mandalorian versus The Last Jedi.
Sure.
Like in a nutshell.
Sure. They understood the spirit of the source material and they said, we're going to continue this somehow. Right? We're going to try to capture this and build upon it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Lots of eating scenes in modern corporate comics. Is that true? Is that fucking true?
Is that true?
I haven't seen enough modern corporate comics to understand whether or not that's almost a prerequisite, Because if that's true, somebody needs to stop. And here's the thing. You guys, I know we have a tendency to focus on writers. Michael just mentioned Kelly C. DeConnick. But here's what I hold this... I put any and all accountability for bad, unpopular, unbought, and unmarketable mainstream comics. I lay that responsibility and accountability at the feet of leadership. I don't point at the writer. because they're, Kelly Sue DeConnick didn't walk into Marvel and say fucking hire, like, I'm hired today, bitch, like, and then
Right.
Suddenly money started flowing into her bank account. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
They
There's an editor somewhere.
She
that
produced
said,
comics. The comics did either well enough for them to say, okay, we're going to continue, or when it started doing poorly, they continued to give them work, realizing fully that their body of work might not be as as marketable in this space, in contrast to the other space where she was actually very popular. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you're a
Right.
great writer in this particular space does not mean it'll automatically transfer into a successful space when it comes to comics, because it's a nuanced muscle that you have to flex.
Well, dude, another example, Tanisi Coates,
Sure.
that lunatic. They gave him, they didn't let him ruin one. They gave him 2 books to destroy. And he did.
Which
They gave him
which two
Captain
are you
America and the Black Panther.
Right. I think that I don't
tagged
know
them
what
both.
made them think that he would be. So here again, I look at that and I go like, that guy is not made to write comics, right? But I should not be the one saying that, right? Okay, so
Right.
let's assume for a minute that somewhere in his heart he had the ability to do it, but never had the opportunity, right? Editor says, great, you are a well celebrated, writer from where is he from? Like the Atlantic or something? Is that the
I think
paper
so.
that he writes for? Anyway, so let's come try this out. Write Black Panther. He tries it, and if you are an editor worth the money that they're underpaying you, if you are an editor of the money that they're paying you, you should have identified that book is not very good, or whatever it's being criticized for. You know what I mean? That is not a very good
Yes.
comic book story. It is now incumbent upon you to help him get good at his job. Because number one, you hired him. Number two, it's your job to do it, right? But
Right.
rather than
Yes.
doing that, rather than guiding, and rather than being like, okay, so cool, man, I get the spirit of your story, but I think we can do this a little bit better because comics works X, Y, and Z. And it's clear that he doesn't have
Yeah.
a full handle on it yet. But the fact that you
Right.
hired
Here's
him,
pros. This is different.
exactly, right. And the fact that you hired him, they released like rough cut one into the wild, and then abandoned him for people to basically, piranha all over him. Why does he suck? Why, like, he sucks because he doesn't write comics. And these guys brought him in to write comics, and they said, yeah, this is good enough. We're just going to leave it as is. Sure, part of the blame falls onto his shoulders. It's almost like saying, hey, man, we really, like, if somebody came up to you tomorrow, Mike, and said, like, hey, we have this experimental jet plane. Mike, you draw awesome jet planes. You want to try this? You want to try piloting this thing? You're like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to fucking crash that
Right.
plane, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
let's say in the instance that you do, you're like, I'm going to take on flying that plane, man. Totally cool. I'm going to do it. And then like you have no coach, you have no resource in how to fly that plane professionally. Like that's
You know
not
what, that
all
will-
on you, right?
There's only one scenario that would have worked.
Yeah.
And that would be if I was Steve Trevor and my character was being written by an inept writer named Patty Jenkins.
Oh boy.
And my character had stepped into a plane since a crop duster from World War One.
Sure, right.
And
right.
then hopped on into a jet plane.
0% of it made sense. Right. 0% of it
Playmo,
makes
baby.
sense. Steve Root is in my top 10. I can't wait to get my notes.
Sorry,
Like, this makes me
Well,
laugh
see.
because that's a perfect example of like having an editor in place and then like looking at that script and then going like, hey, did you know that first movie that you did? Right? When he disappears and everything.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? Like that was World War One,
Yeah. That was 1915, maybe something.
That was
like
a
that.
long time ago. And so like when this happens and he just knows what buttons to flip and he flies like a phantom, this is a jet plane.
Yeah.
That's all right. You're Patty Jenkins. We're just gonna let this shit go.
Yeah, that's really what it is, and I think to Yoji in my chat said, or Tsuoka in my chat said, perhaps they were intimidated by him. Maybe they were just like, I don't want to tell him.
Oh,
Same thing
you
with
think
Patty
they
Jenkins.
were a little intimidated by the idea of like editing codes.
Especially, and what if you're, listen, modern day at Marvel,
Okay.
what if you're the white editor?
Oof.
What if you're the white editor?
Oh boy.
You've got to, right? Maybe you're just like, nah, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Best
Oof.
guess.
Well, I don't know it either, but I do know that they left him. They left him high and dry. And if
They
your
did.
argument as an editor is, oh, dude, I don't want to edit Ta-Nehisi Coates because of the cultural impact, the cultural backlash that may hit me, should he ever go public with the fact that he's being edited by a white editor, you set yourself up for that shit. You put yourself in that goddamn position. This is a fun stream.
Yeah.
Love the topics discussed. Thanks, William. There he is. There's my crowdfunding Sherpa, Mr. Rob the
Ooh.
Replicator himself. Rob Arnold, thank you so much for being here, dude. I appreciate seeing your name scroll up there. Eesh, I'm popping in late. I'll have to catch the full stream later. How are you, Paulus? Good evening. It's one thing if us old dudes drop new books, but how am I supposed to feel okay with my son reading them? Far be it for me to tell you what to do with your kid, but if you were to ask me and you are not, I say get him involved in something else that's not the kind of stuff that's happening. Or go back to there's a version of Marvel and whatever it is that you're into, mainstream books. There's a version of mainstream books that exists that's well within reason to be able to hand off to a kid. Right? Which is like whatever, if you go back, right? If there's issues that you enjoy
Right.
in back issue form or in more vintage form and you feel like that's more appropriate for kid reading, I say go show them that.
Yeah, get those trades.
Did Eric talk
Listen,
about
if it holds
Emilia
up, that'll
Clarke's
hold up.
period armpit hair superhero? What the
What?
I just got through
Oh my god, I heard
regaling-
about that.
What happened?
Oh my god, did you hear about that?
No.
I'm a woman and I get superpowers when I'm on my period, and also my armpits make me move around like Spider-Man. My armpit hair.
What?
It's literally titled "Mom," and it stands for guys. What is that? What does the mom stand for? It's like mad. Oh, I'm assuming the chat's heard about this. 'Cause
I haven't heard
it's
about it.
Fucking, it's crazy. I watched a quick video about it. I watched a quick video about it today, and my mouth was agape the whole time. I was in disbelief. Emilia Clarke talked about how she was forbidden to enter comic book stores because it was boys only. Meanwhile,
Okay.
dude, she's in her like mid to late 30s. Like, hell no, you're about my age. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, dude,
Wait. Was she doing an Was she doing an
Yeah.
interview in which she was proclaiming that she was like prohibited from entering comic book stores?
That's essentially that's the paraphrase version of it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up. I want to quote her.
By the comic
said
book
some
store
crazy
owners?
Here we go. Emilia Clarke's debut comic book follows a single mom whose secret weapon is her period. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat
Oh
for
my
anybody
God.
to. Here, guys, check this out. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Hey, listen, I hope it sells like gangbusters. I hope all the best success for her.
Well, here. We'll get this. We'll get this because again, it's never progressive enough, right? So you're thinking like, yay, women, feminism, the comic book coming
Right.
to a fucking comic book store near you,
Right.
right? Guess what? Guess who was pissed?
Who's pissed?
Because guess what? The trans community, I suppose the intersex community, any non-binary folk that might be out there, anybody who identifies or fights for the rights of women who
Okay.
don't have periods because they don't have vaginas.
So they're mad
So-
that this book exists because it doesn't include that?
Right. Well, because this is supposed to be like a woman's empowerment kind of book. But not all women have vaginas or periods, Eric. So
Who said?
it's not me, dude.
Who
Not
said?
I, Rabbi. I'm just telling you what the fucking Twitter says.
Who said? How dare you?
Here we go. The article opens up. As a kid in London, Emilia Clarke got a distinct vibe from her local comic book, and then it quotes her. her local comic book shop. No girls allowed is the vibe that she got.
Okay, let me read chat real quick. Did everyone thinks that they are taking apart the heroes a la Alan Moore, but all they're doing is making Batman like a cuck like Tom King. Oof, harsh. I haven't read a Tom King Wait. Who wrote the Batman that had Bane? Fuck, I don't remember. It was a long time ago. So I was about to say I've not read a Tom King Batman, but I may accidentally have not paid attention to who was writing.
You definitely. I think you did. I think you did read Tom King. I think we forced you to read it a while back.
Kelly Sue didn't say hire me. Matt Fraction sold his shit a ton of books and said hire my wife. Oh, yeesh.
Are they married?
I think they are.
I guess so.
I think they are. Here's the thing about Coates. He was supposedly an influential writer making real social commentary books, and he failed downward into comic books and making Red Skull into Jordan Phoenix. Listen, he didn't fail downwards. He was invited. Right? He didn't suddenly like, oh, I don't have anything else to do. He ended up in comics. They sought him out. That's not a failure. Like he ran out of options and suddenly he's writing comics. So again, I lay the responsibility, the burden of responsibility and accountability at the feet of the editorial staff that said that was a good idea. So quality isn't the purpose of corporate comics propaganda is, no matter how ineffective and ham-fisted. Is that true? See, here's what my fear is. Mike, tell me what you think about this. There are 4 books, maybe 5. Let's say a dozen. Let's be generous, okay? Let's say there's a dozen book out there that's getting the kind of social media attention, similar to a Captain America, similar to the New Gods, or whatever it is that they're doing, right? Let's say there's a dozen of those books. Right. Is that representative of Marvel's entire publishing line? I don't think so.
No.
Right? But those are the ones, and that's the tragedy of it all, okay? Because instead of, and I've heard a lot of good things, instead of celebrating really, really hardcore celebrating the awesomeness, apparently, because I haven't read any of it yet, but I do have it on my iPad here. The awesomeness that is the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil, right? Instead of celebrating that, cycles are being spent on this stuff that's way too progressive for people's tastes, right? That's the tragedy to me, is because as a news cycle, wouldn't you want to focus on the good stuff instead?
You'd imagine.
Right? Because it's a dozen books that's getting a lot of hype, a lot of heat because it's doing all the wrong things according to its fan base, right? But there's got to be easily. Right. I mean, I remember sitting with Perch on his channel, and he went over what Marvel's publishing schedule on 1 week's release alone. 1 month? 1 month. Let's say a month. And it was a lot. It was like 60 books, 70 books.
What the fuck?
That's a lot.
Jesus.
Right?
That's a ton.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
But 6 to 12 of them are getting the wrong kind of attention. That's the tragic part, right? Wouldn't you want to talk about just help bring awareness to people of the good books? But instead we're talking about these books that are failing, that are floundering.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be honest, man. I haven't read a Marvel book in so long, I wouldn't even know where to begin. If you're like, hey, there's a good book out there, I throw my hands up in the air. I have no idea.
Paulus Arts saying
But
Eddie
for that
holding
reason
church right now. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
No, I mean, I don't know. I literally, because all the press that you hear on Marvel Comics is always just makes you roll your eyes. And you're just kind of like,
and that's it.
Done with it.
It's fucking awful, because I'm going to guess there's 24 books out there easily that could be the standard bearers of how well they're running their business. Hiring the right artists, hiring the right, hiring the right writer, hiring the right sort of creative teams and the support staff that goes behind it, the colorists and everything else. It's coming out on time. It's, delivering on quality. It's delivering on long-term storytelling. It's fucking bonkers that we're focusing on all this stuff that's awful,
Yeah.
My good friend, there's a guy in my chat right now. His name's Gennard Serrano. He says, my first time on one of your streams, Eric, it's been awesome. This guy, Gennard and I, go back to when I was all of 2 decades old.
Hello.
Yeah, I am now quadruple that amount of decades. But Jannard was one of the guys that I when I was having comic book dreams way back when I was much younger in my early 20s, Jannard was too. And he, to the kindness of his heart, most importantly his family's heart, opened up his garage to me and the rest of my deviant friends to draw comics.
Oh, that's where you...
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the place you worked.
That's the place.
You know, you guys did your thing.
That's right.
No shit.
Yeah, and Jannard was the guy that was like, yeah, man, you guys set up your tables in my garage. We'll draw comics day and night. And that's where I cut my teeth in trying to get better at my craft with like 7 awesome dudes all trying to get into the business. And every year, we would all pile into his small Honda Civic and drive down to San Diego. There'd be 7 of us in that car trying to get down to San Diego Comic-Con. We're staying at like this. And by the way, the San Diego Comic-Con, or at least the downtown San Diego that we've come to know it as it is today, was nothing compared to when we were going in like early 90s, right? Like, or it's actually late 90s. There was it was awful. You couldn't stay, if you wanted to stay there, you'd have to stay pretty close to the convention center. Otherwise, you get anywhere near like 5-7 blocks away, the place turned into a shithole. And the way it is now is totally open to like all sorts of tourism and all the things that San Diego Comic-Con related. But back when we went, back in our day, that thing was dangerous. You know, it would be us sleeping 10 people, almost close to like, we would rent 2 rooms and it'd be 10 people collectively, right? With sleeping bags, so we could afford to be there. We would empty out the local all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet because that's all we could afford, you know? Anyway, if I have a brother, it would be Jannard. Short of like being blood, he's as close to a brother as I've ever experienced in my life. So hello, thank you for being here, dude. I just bought my son a Venom Omnibus. It might be above his level, but he loves Venom. That's awesome, Jasper.
That is dope.
Thanks, Rob. This is officially the 3rd show that's talked on this topic. I think Rob just walks into a place and goes like, what about that Amelia Clark armpit hair girl? Just heard about Amelia's thing a few hours ago. It's a really bizarre concept, even more bizarre account of which she speaks. You know, it's interesting that someone out there convinced Amelia Clark that it was a good idea to get into the comic book business. And I'm going to guess in that conversation or in that pitch meeting, Berserker came up. It says, look what fucking Keanu did.
Oh, abso-fucking-lutely. I believe, you know what? That's one of those things where you say it, and I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, for sure. I like my women with vaginas, but different folks. Hi, Eric. For Kids Marvel, there is Kids Comics, but check them out before you give them anything. Before taking off the comics code would be all right. Before X4 116 May 2020. Oh, cool. Thanks, SD. I appreciate that. For other companies, it's a crapshoot. You're talking about kid-safe books that you can hand to a, what would you say the safe age range would be, like 12 and under? 12 and under? Don Gomez, I only buy Tom King books for Clayman art. Oh, talk about a carry. Have you seen that guy's work, Mike? Clayman?
Is that the dude that draws from 3D?
No,
a different dude.
I don't know if he does, to be honest with you. But he does. He did a book, and it's again in my iPad. I need to get to it, which is Catwoman Batman, and this guy is one of those guys that DC should hold on to until forever. Because this guy is really freaking good. It's right up there with, who is that dude that we like a lot? Is it a Jimenez boy?
Jimenez?
Yeah.
Jorge Jimenez, man.
Yeah.
That's the...
It's right in that caliber of quality.
Ooh.
It's really good. It's really, really good. DC should back a Brinks truck into that kid's house and drop everything off. I think certain folks need to understand that some people are different from others, and that's okay. Everybody has a different experience. What were we talking about? I'm so behind on chat that I'm not contextualizing that perfectly. At what point did writing compelling stories was replaced with filling quotas? Compelling stories. I don't know if those are independent of each other. You can write a story that fills quotas. You just have to understand your audience. You know,
right.
You don't have to have one or the other. You can have both. and have a very successful sort of line. Eddie Winkler, how are you, sir?
It's
Good evening.
true.
How are you?
Yeah, no, they don't have to be they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
No, nope, not at all.
There are plenty of instances where, you know, people are successful, and if your goal is inclusivity or representation or whatever the hell it might be, there are excellent ways to do that where, as long as the story is good, as long as the protagonist is relatable, people don't care, man.
Yeah, Jasper
Nobody
Plan
was
9
like,
says
I'm not going to watch Blade.
those lists that I was talking
That
about.
character doesn't look like me.
Those lists of 80 plus comics coming out of Marvel. I think I'm over exaggerating.
Wow, 80.
But those are weekly, not monthly. I think I'm being overly dramatic. I think it's high, but not to the point of 80. But I could be wrong. I don't remember. Atomic Bulldog says Daredevil and Wolverine are among the best they've ever been. See, like, why is that not front and center at every Marvel? Like, geez, man, if they were smart about their social media, if they were smart about is it because it's just too middle of the road comics, you know, and it's not enough headline grabbing material? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the headlines that they grab are just
the
like,
wrong kind.
Hey, look at this horrible thing we're
Yeah.
doing.
Are
Hey,
the
the
wrong
comic industry
kind.
sucks.
Absolutely. Hey, look, I'm caught up.
Yeah.
SDA says that the 12 and under, as far as his comic book recommendations are concerned in regards to a specific year, before they took off the comics code. How are you holding up, buddy? I got another 20 minutes. I haven't done any drawing at all.
I'm good. I'm doodling here. I'm doodling a sexy naked lady, half naked.
I'm into it.
As I tend to do.
Very on brand.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, I'm streaming as well, in case anybody was curious.
Oh yeah, by the way, if you're not following my good buddy Michael DeNicola on his channel on either Twitch or YouTube, please go there now. He's my only wrench in chat so far, so he's going to have to promote himself as far as dropping a link to all of his accounts.
Yeah, but don't leave this. I'll give you guys a link, but stay where you are.
Where'd Rob go? I was going to talk to him about his writing style. I'm always fascinated with how people's processes are. A couple days ago, excuse me, I was hanging out with, do you know the Barton brothers at all?
No.
There's
sound
like a weightlifting,
oh, go on.
a weightlifting pair, right?
Yes,
like
I was thinking like circus act. Like they're strong men.
Yeah. They're awesome. They're awesome guys who draw their own comics. They have a comic called Kozor it's either funding right now or they're done and they're in the middle of either producing it or fulfilling it. But Clayton has a online course called my brain just farted and said blur, and I can't remember what it is. Anyway, I'll get to it. It'll come back to me in just a second. Okay. HowToDrawComics.net. There it is. Okay, so he has these online courses in which he walks people through how to get better at that craft, right? And he and I talked for 2 hours the other day, and it did not go dry at all because we just ended up talking about process. We just ended up talking about like the state of mind that you get into sometimes when you can't break through, when you're having an off day as far as being an artist is concerned. The necessary, deliberate partition that you need to have between, establishing a work-life balance, right?
Yes.
That was great. Holy crap. And to see the other side of that, because I know my day-to-day and what that looks like and kind of discipline that I implement to get up at 4 and be bed by 10 and do that 5 days, 6 days out of the week, right? But it's different to see, it was fascinating to see it from Clayton's perspective, because he's a comic book artist, right? Trying to work on his book, trying to get better at his craft, and trying to deliver on a product that he's crowdfunded, so it was a fascinating conversation, 2 hours worth of talking about process. And I think, one of these days, if I can drag a writer friend of mine onto this stream and just talk to them about how they go about writing, because I ran into a very specific buzzsaw when it came to Arc Athena number 5. right? Where I was
Yes,
like,
you did.
this all makes sense, but I don't know how to tie a pretty bow on it, you know?
That's
And
the hard part, man.
oh yeah, because coming up
So
with concepts with like cool ass fucking like, oh, and then this this car transforms into this, you know what I mean? And then like, and the rhinos charge out of nowhere, but you have to find a way for all of those loose ends to congeal and turn into
yeah,
a satisfying payoff, you know?
you know what happens if you don't do that? You're J.J. Abrams. You're just the mystery box.
The
guy.
mystery box, yeah.
You know, you're just like, and then this happens, and this happens, and then maybe what's going to happen next? And you're just like, well, what is going to happen next?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
It's like, well, what the fuck are we doing here, man? What the fuck?
Yeah, for sure.
That's not how you write a damn story.
Hey, is Rob still in chat? Somebody summon Rob, because I brought this on stream just for him. Look at this. Look at that.
Hang on, I want to look at this.
Look at that.
But let me hit the live button. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yes.
Look at that
Oh,
shit.
that's fucking nice. I promoted that on Instagram the other day.
I saw it.
couldn't help
Thank you,
myself.
friend. Look at that shit.
I'm going to keep that up. I'm going to get the word out as best I can. It's only a couple thousand extra eyes, but every eye counts, I think.
Look at that thing. Now that goes with your opportunity to get this as a thank you gift for signing up to my newsletter and ultimately my campaign, right? Comes by way of my website. So if you guys can go to ericcanetti.com you go to ericcanetti.com and look in the upper right hand corner, it says Arc Athena info. Click on that link and you'll be able to sign up for the opportunity to get this as a gift. As say thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you so much for signing up for my newsletter.
Dude, how's that feel? It looks bigger than I thought, man.
Yeah, man.
It looks bigger than I thought.
Because now you have it in context, right? Look at the side of my head.
Yeah, holy shit. Dude, I thought that was like only like a 3 or 4 inches.
No. This is a real deal.
Fucking
buddy.
A.
Look at that shit. They did a phenomenal
nice,
job printing it out. Now, keep in mind, this is just the prototype. We just wanted to
That's
see
just prototype.
what it looked like, sitting in hand. And it gives us an opportunity to take a look at it and say, oh, we could probably tighten this up later. This is going to be a pain in the ass to produce and all that kind of stuff. But these prototypes are going to be my thank you gift for anybody who's out there signing up. We're going to choose somebody at random at the end of this month, choose another one at random at the end of July, and finally end of August. One per end of month. So please sign up for my newsletter. I'll be updating there with a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, a bunch of process stuff. So thank you ahead of time, everybody. I'm trying to get a few made to hand out to close pals, but I think your name is on that short list.
Hey, I'd love to have one, but fuck me, man. You know?
The only thing is, it's again, because it's a 3D print, it's not necessarily fragile, right? But you can tell that it's not like when we do start going into manufacturing and getting these things produced, obviously it's going to have more heft than what this thing has. But otherwise, this thing is pretty like freaking badass, you know?
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'd love to have one, but listen, man. I've seen enough of Arc Athena that anybody who rather it go to the people that support Arc Athena.
Oh, for sure.
Because you're gonna fucking, oh my god, guys, fucking Christ, man. Dude, I mean, obviously my opinion is super biased because you're my friend. I love you. I appreciate you. But dude, this is some of the best work you've ever done.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
Hands down.
Thanks, man. We're going to, as best as we can, or I say we as if I have any control over you, but I'm going to temper as much of my freaking excitement, expectation until I get issue 5 done, right? Because we can talk all sorts of smack now about how cool it is and how great it is and blah, 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 but it doesn't live up to the promise until all 5 issues are done, to me.
Good point.
Right? Then
You're
the
right.
promise is like, cool, I'm done with 5 issues. That's what I set out to do. That's what I that's what I had promised myself, and then ultimately that what I've been hyping on stream and online and all that kind of stuff. And so once I cross off page X, last page on issue 5, then I'll say, all right,
Right.
that's
That's
part's done, right? Then we'll start moving into like setting up new expectations, like, okay, so what does this mean now as far as campaigns is? We'll do it way before then, naturally, because I don't think that issue 5, actually, no, that's a lie. I'm going to be done with all 5 issues before first campaign launches. But you know what I mean? Like, then we'll put on a different hat. Then we'll put on a different party hat.
Right.
Right?
Yes. That statue went beyond Thunderdome, says STA.
The interesting thing is, like, I put it on, and I got a couple of side messages from people going like, was that a call out to anybody who was doing these crowdfunding campaigns? And I said, what the fuck did I say to call? What did I say to make people think that I called somebody out? It's like, oh, it's just the way that you worded it, you made it seem like it's done now and not like the rest of you guys who are not done. And I was like, you did. No, it wasn't a call out. It was more like I want to reassure people who, first of all, don't know me in this space, which is a big, big deal for me, right? Which is, if you don't know me, I want to gain your trust about this campaign, this project, this series, right? And what better way to do that than to show you, hey, I'm ahead of the curve. I'm not going to sit there and
smoke up your ass.
No. More like, I'm not going to work on it as the campaigns are going. This thing is literally done. So that to me is a jab step towards garnering public / backer trust. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But some people took that as
the project is done.
Yeah, some people took that as a gauntlet being thrown. I was like, no.
Dude, listen, as a person that knows you, that is, guys, that's not Eric. That's not Kennedy, man.
Yeah.
Kennedy, he's not the guy that looks over the fence at somebody else and,
Oh, don't get me wrong. I have my
Besides
moments
some
of
shit.
like assholeness, you know what I mean? But who doesn't?
Sure.
But that one in specific was not,
Yeah, no. It's not a, and this is what I'm doing, and this is why other people suck. It's, this is what I'm doing because I want the best for anybody who's going to be supporting this project.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
The end. No, and then no, this person over here isn't.
Jasper Plan 9 says, I thought you were referring to a specific book that shipped the week that you spoke on the topic. Which book? Oh man, if there was one that I was railing on pretty hard, I try to, what's strange, when it comes to that level of like negativity and talk, what's the word I'm looking for, Mike? Toxicity?
Toxicity?
Yeah, toxicity.
Yeah.
I try to get it out of my system as quickly as possible so it doesn't linger for very long. So if I had an allergic reaction to a book that I had read, I immediately let's just get this over with, It's like, let's burn it up as quickly as possible, like alcohol, and then move on to the next thing. Because, man,
right, it's not productive.
And the thing that you and I laugh about, you were the one that said it to me, and I've been using it. Was it you that said it to me? I think it was. This term, which is what you eat what that guy eats doesn't make me shit.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. That's
you
exactly
said
what I
that
was
to me.
thinking of.
You said that to me a long time ago, and I've held on to that. To be like, I can get hung up on what this guy's doing, what that guy's doing, and blah, 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 all the dramatic shit that's happening. But I'm like, what that guy eats doesn't make me shit. So what?
Right.
What do I care?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That is, if you're just learning his Ericisms, that's a great MO for him. If I may speak about you in the third person.
Yeah, as if I'm not in the room.
Yeah. Eric doesn't worry himself with the work of others for good or bad. He's got some of the best work ethic I've ever known. And yeah, primary focus, get my work done, make it good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. The end.
I got like there's only so many hours, so many minutes in the day in which I can dedicate
Yes.
to this thing that I really, really like doing, right? So why am I going to spend any more time fast forwarding through somebody else's business, especially if it doesn't have a positive momentum effect on the stuff that I'm doing, right?
Hmm.
So I'm just like,
Yes.
we're moving on. I get caught up in it in the moment because I'm so incredibly passionate about that thing that I'm caught up in, but then I take a moment to be like self-aware and being like, that's not worth, man. What the heck's Midream doing?
Uh,
I think
hang on.
Midream just randomly walked into the room and was like, yo.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna mute him.
Okay.
Get out of here.
Hey, we should make this a Tuesday thing, dude. Are you up this late on Tuesday?
Dude, I'm thinking about maybe doing like a special, like, if you'll have me, man, and if chat enjoyed our conversation tonight. This was fun, man. I'd never get sick of talking about process and behind the scenes stuff. I find it fascinating.
Dude, fast forward 3 weeks, you'll be like, fuck, I've heard the same exact goddamn yeah, you're about to say what that guy eats doesn't make me shit. You're gonna say that shit. You're like 3 weeks, guaranteed. Maybe 4 if you're.
No way. No way, man. That's like you just described getting sick of, like, your favorite Rolling Stone song.
I can get sick of my.
Tuesday is an open day. SD says, yeah, do it. Raul Trevino, an incredible artist. Mexican
Yes.
artist, I believe. I could be mistaken if I am. I'm sorry.
Just start putting race to people, dude. Just be like, that guy is this guy. Why is that your concern? Is it common to happen? Artists fail delivering 100%. Well, Raul doesn't know what that means. Like if you've ever been to Raul's table at a convention, that guy's got like a library full of work sitting in front of him, right? He's practically printing art at this point. He's going so fast, right? And each single, I don't know, are you familiar with Raul's work at all, Mike?
Oh, dude, I've watched the progression of his work.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Have
man.
you
I
seen
remember
it?
I used to watch him.
The quality climb is amazing, dude.
I had such envy. Like 6 years ago, I had envy watching him make those traditional manga lines.
Yeah.
Manga.
Yeah.
Where it was just so he could do it with a pen nib, dude.
Yeah.
Just that flawless single stroke, man.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
Genius.
Yeah, but it is to
Brilliant.
say, like, he's asking why is it a concern of mine delivering on time, and it's because of the fact that yes, it's my personal concern and sort of anxiety about it is I'm making these promises to deliver a 5-issue miniseries, and I fall behind somehow, right? And one of the things I'm doing to mitigate that is the idea that I'm going to get it all done first. So I'm really doing my very best to be sort of the least weakest link in the chain, if that makes any sense, right? Like if somebody is going to fall behind, it's not going to be me.
Yeah.
And the best part about that is the team that I've managed to convince, I've managed to coerce them to come and work with me on this book. I'd be surprised if any of them sort of like drop the baton, so to speak, right? In this however many leg race, So I just got pages back from Giuliano, right? Jules. And he is hitting his stride. I'm getting in his way at this point. He's sending them to me out of courtesy, but I'm just kind of like shrugging. Just yesterday, he sends in a page, and there's this one scene in which these spirits are talking to one of the supporting characters on the team, right? And I forgot that he sent me 2 versions of the renders for those talking spirits. These kind of like, these spirits that are influencing him, kind of talking in his head, making him act like a crazy person, And he sent me two versions. One that was rendered in warmer oranges, and the other one rendered in warmer pinks, right? And I just kind of shrugged my shoulder, and I was like, "You pick, Jules," you know?
Ooh.
Right? And so, because ultimately, the level of quality was all there. You know what I mean? And then he sends me the finished page yesterday, and I'm like, "Jules, why is the floating heads pink?" And then he goes like, "Because you asked me to pick," you know. And then it's like the pink one stands out. It pops more. And I was like, you know, I did that noise, right? And so I typed back to him. He's like, "Oh, you want the orange one, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, only because we're gonna end up using those floating heads later." And I showed him in context when they would be reused later, in issue 2, in which pink just wouldn't work. You know what I mean? That energy pink. It would be much better if it was in that energy orange. And he's like, "Oh, that totally makes sense. I didn't have that in context because I'm not on that issue yet." But he changed it anyway. And that's what I mean when I'm like, I'm just getting in his way. You know, like if I had just been like orange because I know it in context, rather than going like, "Jules, you can pick," right? Because I was half asleep or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Random said there's a lot to be said for just putting in the work, but sometimes life gets in the way. I don't disagree with that. I think more often than not, that's because that's how life works, is that it's completely unplanned. It'll come out of left field. You're going to be, I don't know how many more analogies. I was about to say you're going to be blindsided by it. But like, and I think that's why you stack the deck in your favor by doing as much of the work as possible. And here's what I've come to see in a handful of people who were, because they kind of need to keep awareness up, and I understand why they're doing it, right? If you're behind on a book, or if you're in the middle of doing a project, I know why you have to self-promote, especially in the space of crowdfunding, in the space of like self-publishing and all that kind of stuff. You have to continuously self-promote, because if you keep your campaigns sort of like on demand, you want as much of that infusion of late money as you keep going closer and closer to fulfillment, to finishing the book and then ultimately fulfilling. But it takes you away from getting the actual book done. You know what I mean? Especially if you're the artist. It's extensive to stream, and I'm doing a trading card for Archetype right now, and I should be, if it weren't for stream for 2 hours, I'd have been done with this by now. So I understand the challenge of engaging with chat and you know, obviously trying to be as entertaining as possible. But really, you have to buckle down and finish that freaking book, man. Really buckle down and finish that book, especially if the campaign is closed, you know? That's the promise, right? That's the promise. That's the social contract that you entered into. And I understand that life can get in the way, as it often does, but that's why you stack the deck in your favor. Let's say you do a little bit of, you know, forecasting. You go like, I don't feel comfortable launching this campaign until at least I'm halfway done with it, because I know for sure life gets in the way. See, that's responsible, you know?
Mm-hmm. Just from an outsider's perspective, watching you do this, watching you become a, you know, indie creator, and having to witness you wear so many hats. Yeah. So many different, you know, not only, one thing, again, we mentioned the burden of being your own writer and artist. That is a gargantuan undertaking. Yeah. But you're just scratching the surface. Yeah. You've got to be on the fulfillment. You've got to be on, you know, whoever's printing, whoever's doing your merch. Mm-hmm. Are you doing merch? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Guess what? You got to be your own promoter, your own PR guy, your own marketer. You got to be your own social, you know, I was going to say social justice. No. You got to be your own social media marketer. Right. Like, these are all different, you know, you're doing YouTube, like, it's just boom, 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 boom. And each of those could be potentially a full-time job, you know? They are. Right. They are. Dude, being a comic book artist, period, is a full-time job. Being a comic book writer is a full-time job. Right. Being any of the things that I mentioned, it's so much. Yeah. And then you have to go and actually make the book, right? Like, make the fucking book and make it good. Right. Is that all? You know, like. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is that all? Is that all I have to do? Yeah, I didn't know I had to wear like 20 different hats and make a good book too. What the hell? Yeah. No.
All right, I think that's it for me. That's it for me for now. That was 2 hours.
Okay.
You know what? I got to find a way. So I set this program up so that it'll count down, and then it will tell me, okay, hit this button for it to go live, right? And so I'm like, oh, that's a great function. That's a great feature. Now, the 2 times that I've done that, it gives me an error message that it won't allow me to go live based on the stuff that I had put up on my social media. So I think there's a hiccup happening there, in which I'm just kind of like, maybe I shouldn't program this anymore. If I were just to hit the button and go live independent of that scheduling, everything's totally fine, right? But if I were to schedule it ahead of time, as much as, like, let's say 30 minutes or whatever, with an appropriate thumbnail, and it goes up on my YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff, like, it glitches and it doesn't want to go live. It gives me that error message. Hey, there are streaming quality issues about that prevents us from going live. But if I were to turn that off, just hit go live right now, it does it just fine, you know?
What?
Danzig story. Hold on. Pedrino
okay.
just asked for the Danzig story. Okay, so one year we were invited to go to the Glenn Danzig New Year party in downtown Hollywood. And I'll just tell you part of it because there's a lot, right? So first of all, that's the first time I met this guy called Wall, W-A-L-L, big Asian dude, looks like a retired sumo wrestler, not because he's old, but because he's, you know, he just decided to give it up to a more easier life of being a giant door of a man. So we go there. And so, by the way, the velvet rope. Keep in mind, we're a bunch of 20. I wish Jannard was still here because I think he was part of this. Jannard was there that night. He could corroborate any and all of this. So we went to a Danzig New Year's party, and we're like nerds. You know what I mean? Like complete nerds. This was still in the stage when Jannard was wearing like the Harry Potter circle glasses. You know, like too big for his own face, right? Anyway, total freaking geeks. Pulled up in his 1990 whatever that was years Honda Civic hatchback, and there's the velvet rope to try
remembers.
He does. There you go. There he is.
Yep.
I'm only gonna tell one part of it, Jannard. So I just remember.
Don't worry, Jannard.
I just remember the velvet rope to get into this place. It was lines of people trying to get into the party, right? And for what, like, can you imagine these guys are like dressed to the nines trying to get into this New Year? With Jannard, was it New Year's or was it Halloween? I think it was Halloween. Fuck. Anyway, it was one of those. I think it was Halloween. It's appropriate that it was Halloween because it's Danzig. Anyway, so like we get up to the front and I'm supposed to call Ruthie, who is Glenn Danzig's manager, right? And Ruthie is if she is not 5'10", if she's not 5'11", she's 6'2". She was a tall lady, right? The great part about it is she can be pretty cutthroat when it comes to like people, but she was incredibly maternal and warm and kind to us, to me, and then my friends by proxy, right? Call Ruthie once we get there. I text her. She comes down. She picks us up, and we are led through that crowd of people. And the looks that we got, a bunch of nerds getting into the Danzig Halloween party, right?
Oh, boy.
You know what I mean? Kind of like, oh, here we go, you know? And that's when I meet Wall for the first time. Big, wide Asian of a man who was just a big, sweet teddy bear and goes, you guys are going in, huh? Okay. So he just lets us in, you know? Okay, I'll tell you, there's many, many things that happened that night, but I'll tell you one in specific, right? Well, no, I'll tell you two. One is that one of Danzig's business partners immediately grabs a stripper, throws me into a what do you call it? What looks like what is it? like a comfort chair? You know what I mean? Like a big lazy boy or whatever the heck it is for that penthouse. We go to the penthouse. I forget that part. We go straight up to the penthouse.
Yeah,
Rick grabs the stripper, gives her, like, whispers something into her ear, and then proceeds to just show me every crevice in her body.
Oh my goodness.
Right? And so I was like, you know, I'm a kid,
Yowzers.
all of maybe 22 years old, as much as 23, but I don't think that old. But I'm a kid, right?
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but the thing was, she smelled divine. She smelled good in every inch of her body until she got up to my face with her mouth, and that she had the worst halitosis you've ever smelled in your life. It was the weirdest.
Oh.
It was the weirdest thing. So the other
Oh
thing
no.
is that so Danzig's being a good host, and he's just like, you know, talking up to a bunch of people, and then he sees me, and so he grabs me by the wrist, throws. Jannard, corroborate this. He throws me into a chair and then takes a bucket full of like $50 bills and throws it on me, right? So it's kind of like sitting on my lap and all over. And whatever it was that the other strippers were doing for the other people in the room, they all turned their head. It was like it was a scene out of Aliens. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
Your scent.
Yeah, they caught my scent, and then they just came crawling towards me for those 20, and it was the most awkward that I never. This is gonna sound weird, but I'm not much of a lap dance guy. I'm not much of a stripper guy. I'm not much of a that version of Las Vegas guy. So I just sat there frozen in fear. That's 2 stories, but there's many more that happened that night. And between Jannard and myself, we could probably come up with like 3 or 4. That
Jannard's mentioning. Jannard wants you to tell us who got kicked out before you got there.
Don't forget who got kicked out before we got there. I don't remember that part, dude. Who got kicked out before we got there?
Jannard, tell us.
I don't remember. It was Jannard, myself. Wait, who was it?
To be continued.
Who was it? It was me, Jannard, our friend Byron, our friend Joel. Was that the 4 of us that went that night? Anyway. There's Joel stories, there's Byron stories. I don't remember who got kicked out. Billy Idol got kicked out?
Oh my god, dude.
I don't remember that, dude. You saw Billy Idol getting kicked out of that party.
Holy shit.
What the fuck were we doing in that party?
What the fuck?
What the fuck were we doing what were we doing in a party that had Billy Idol getting kicked out of it? Anyway, all right. Good night, folks. If you're not already following me on Instagram, if you're not following my social media, I'd really appreciate if you'd go do so right now. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram under Eric Canetti, EricCanete, Twitter.com, Instagram.com. If you're not already following me here, please do so. Click that little subscribe button. Maybe you'd want to click on that notification bell so you know when I go live or when I start uploading videos again, which hopefully is sometime soon. Probably all going to be Arc Athena centric, Arc Athena related. And on that note, follow me on, if you're not already signed up for my newsletter, an opportunity to win or to receive, can I say win because that sounds like a contest, to receive one of these free thank you busts for the effort of signing up to my newsletter. That would be really amazing. You can go to eric-canetti.com/arc-athena-info. That will get you there. It'll ask you for your email. You'll get my newsletter. You get a lot of behind the scenes stuff there, a lot of work in progress, and maybe a few process videos as well. But most importantly, that newsletter will inform you on campaign start, which is going to be, I think, first or second week of September. I appreciate your support on that front as well. Follow my good friend Michael DiNicola. You can find him on Instagram, Twitter, and on Mike, have you claimed your YouTube name yet or no?
Yeah, youtube.com/Michael DiNicola.
Michael DiNicola.
Here's my link. That's my link tree. You'll find all my stuff.
There you go. Okay, that's it. We'll be back on Tuesday. We're going to try to make this official. You and me on Tuesday nights or something.
You and me on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You, me, Billy Idol.
You, me, Danzig, Billy Idol, and whoever else we can
Strippers
convince.
with bad breath.
Yeah. She smelled great. All right. I'm going to go because I got to pee. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody on my stream.